Sort of. Thank you so much. My friend, second gentleman, Doug Emhoff, you've done us a great honor by visiting the department. It's been a real pleasure for us to be able to host you. I earlier had the pleasure of traveling with the second gentleman to North Carolina. We saw research and labor around transportation, and I saw firsthand how his insights and thoughtfulness are such an asset to the Vice President, to the administration, and to the country. And so we want to thank you sincerely for helping us to shine a light on a national priority like this in terms of roadway safety. And I hope you will bring our thanks and greetings also to the Vice President, whose leadership has been so essential in getting the bipartisan infrastructure law, among many other achievements that are going to help us to drive this policy. Likewise, I'm so thankful to serve in an administration led by President Biden, whose personal commitment to the issue of safety on our roads helped make today possible. We are so fortunate that Deputy Secretary Polly Trottenberg, who you heard from a moment ago, is such a leader in this, has been a leader in this area long before either of us held our current assignments. Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton, thank you for your leadership, both for the district and specifically on the issue of transportation infrastructure nationwide. We're so thankful for your leadership role in committee and your insights throughout this process. To Mayor Bowser, who couldn't be here today, but is such a well-respected leader in this area, has been certainly since we were fellow mayors, and is represented so well today by Director Lott. Thank you, Director, for the great work that's going on that I experienced personally as a frequent user of your really best-in-class bike lane infrastructure, and more broadly as somebody so committed to roadway safety. We're joined by Chair Jennifer Homendy of the National Transportation Safety Board, best known perhaps for the steps that they take in the aftermath of a crash, but also equally important as partners and leaders in preventing things from happening in the future. The President and CEO of the National Safety Council, Lorraine Martin, Executive Director of the Governor's Highway Safety Association, Jonathan Adkins, President and CEO of Safe Kids Worldwide, Tareen Kreppe, who hosted me for a great discussion last year, President of Advocates Highway and Auto Safety, Kathy Chase, our partners at AASHTO, who will be the tip of the spear in so many ways as the states proceed with infrastructure investments in a safe fashion, and so many others joining us here and virtually from across the advocacy, accessibility, and equity movement. And of course, I want to thank and acknowledge the department's staff who have been working these issues tirelessly from day one of this administration, and in many cases for their whole lives and careers. This is a big day. We are here to talk about safety on America's roads, streets, and highways. And in giving remarks like this, it might be customary to begin by telling the story of a person whose life was cut short or forever changed, to help people to picture the reality behind the statistics. But sadly, I think each of us can already think about the reality behind the statistics. I think every one of us can close our eyes right now and picture people we've known, friends, family members, a high school teammate, a coworker, someone whose life needlessly ended far too soon because of a crash on our roads. If you think about what that means, the fact that every one of us can think of people lost and speak of it as a sad but universal truth. It is as if we were living through a war. It is as if it were normal. And certainly you see that in the kinds of numbers that we live with. We have for years been averaging almost 3,000 deaths per month on our roads. So added up in the last decade, we have lost more than 350,000 lives on America's roadways. And things have gotten worse during recent years as people drove at higher speeds, more recklessly, more distracted. We're going to be posting as a department our official fatality data for the third quarter of 2021. And I need to tell you, looking at the preliminary numbers, it's not good. This is a national crisis. When we look deeper at the numbers, we notice two things. One, it is disproportionately impacting some Americans more than others. People of color, Native Americans, low-income communities, people in rural areas more likely to die on our roads. And yet the other thing that we see is this crisis indeed affects everyone. claiming lives from people of every age, every race, every income level in rural communities and big cities alike. We cannot and must not accept that these fatalities are somehow an inevitable part of life in America. Think about the fact that when somebody's about to get in the car or go somewhere, we might say, drive safe. We don't do that with most other routine, everyday activities in civilian life, partly because we have, as a society, acted to make sure that more and more everyday activities are certain to be safe. When somebody's headed to a restaurant, we don't say, eat safe today, because food is far safer thanks to the food safety laws of the early 20th century. We've acted to make American workplaces safer, realizing that on-the-job deaths are unacceptable. Of course, there's more work to do in that area, but your workplace is 1/5 as likely to be deadly today as it was before OSHA took effect 50 years ago. So when it comes to roadway deaths, we have a crisis that is urgent, unacceptable, and preventable. We know that roadway deaths are preventable because some places are doing a better job at preventing them than others. Canada's traffic fatality rate is about half of what ours is. In Europe, it's about a quarter. And it's not like there's something about Americans that causes this intrinsically, because we can look around our country and see that some places are doing better than others. Hoboken, New Jersey went 3 years without a traffic death. Fremont, California dramatically reduced their crash rates. New York City saw steady, significant declines in deaths before COVID, as the Deputy Secretary mentioned. And these improvements, of course, didn't come on their own. They happened after each of those places adopted new policies around traffic safety. We also know road deaths are preventable because across the U.S., roadway fatalities and the fatality rate declined consistently for around 30 years before stalling during the last decade, and now, as I mentioned, going back up in more recent years. I've spoken about roadway safety with everybody who will listen. I've talked about it with the president, the vice president, leaders in Congress, state, local officials, advocates, car manufacturers, people of every political and professional background. And as we have spoken and as I have listened and learned from so many experts, one thing that's very clear is a universal agreement that we should be doing something. The question is, what will it take? So let's talk about what it'll take and what we're going to do. The first thing it takes is a strategy with the resources and programs to deliver on that strategy. That's why today we are proud to launch the National Roadway Safety Strategy, a true first. It represents a comprehensive plan to significantly reduce injuries and deaths on America's roadways. And with America's three principal roadway safety agencies aligned, the Federal Highway Administration, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, we are embarking on a safe system approach. Experts embrace this approach to lowering risks by building multiple layers of protection: safer roads, safer people, safer vehicles, safer speeds, and better post-crash care. People make mistakes, but human mistakes don't always have to be lethal. And in a well-designed system, safety measures make sure that human fallibility does not lead to human fatalities. That's what we will be doing for America's roads with the National Roadway Safety Strategy and the safe system approach that it embraces. Now, often there's a great strategy out there, but it's limited by a lack of resources. That's why we are so fortunate in this moment to be able to meet the moment with unprecedented safety funding and vital new programs impacting safety, thanks to President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law. That law creates a new Safe Streets and Roads for All program, providing $6 billion to help cities and towns deliver new comprehensive safety strategies, as well as accelerate existing successful safety initiatives. It will protect not only drivers, but all road users, including people who bike or walk or use a wheelchair. Pedestrian fatalities, as the second gentleman mentioned, have been increasing significantly faster than overall roadway fatalities, and we need to address the safety of those outside as well as those inside the vehicle. The infrastructure law also creates additional funding, increases funding for the Highway Safety Improvement Program by over $4 billion. And earlier this month, President Biden launched the biggest investment to fix our bridges since the interstate highway system, which will help make bridges safer for drivers, passengers, cyclists, and pedestrians alike. Now, the National Roadway Safety Strategy is not just new programs and funding, it also makes our existing safety programs more ambitious and more coordinated. Tools like our vehicle rating system, our guidance for the design of roadways, and our requirements for state driver licensing agencies. Another thing that it's going to take in order to change the trajectory of roadway safety in this country is a single, ambitious, shared goal. And today we commit that our goal is this: 0. Our goal is 0 deaths. A country where one day nobody has to say goodbye to a loved one because of a traffic crash. I understand the scale of the challenge and the ambition represented by that goal, and I understand that we may not get there during my tenure as secretary. But the decision to commit to that goal in a serious way at a national level changes the way cities and towns design roads. It changes the ways companies build cars. It changes the way people drive them. Jurisdictions and organizations that have adopted that goal have used it to save lives, and it is now our intention to do the same as a matter of national policy. So we have policies, we have programs, we have resources, we have a goal, and we have leaders. We're standing here in the U.S. Department of Transportation headquarters. We're joined by the second gentleman of the United States of America because this is a priority for the department, for the administration, and for the country. We also need partners in state and local government, like our friends represented here, and outside of government, like the advocates who have laid so much of the groundwork to bring America to this point. None of us can do this alone. We are going to team up with governors, mayors, county executives, local leaders, the ones who actually design and maintain so much of America's road systems. Our strategy gives government at every level a shared roadmap, and we're counting on their help, just as they can count on ours. We're going to partner with advocates and philanthropies, working on ways to support communities that may not have had the expertise or the staff to do this on their own. And we will be working with the technology and auto industries. To take one example, some of the most exciting material amid the work towards truly autonomous vehicles concerns safety features being delivered along the way. Having your car alert you if you're trying to change lanes and another vehicle is too close to you. That would have seemed far-fetched long ago. Now it is standard in many new cars. We're going to count on technology and auto companies to work with us to make driving safer for those inside and outside the car. But it's also clear that technology alone will not save us, certainly not on any acceptable timeline. So the final thing I want to address, maybe more important than any single piece of technology or policy, is that we need a national change in mentality. It is time for a transformation in how people think about road safety. Together we can act to change the culture and the expectations. We're so accustomed to hazards on our roads that we sometimes behave as if the risks of today's roadways are inevitable, but they're not. People should leave the house and know that they're going to get to their destination safely. Once we believe that, and believe in our ability to collectively make progress, once we demand better, we will see more positive changes cascading across governments and industries. And that culture change can also motivate change among drivers who need to put down their phones, take their foot off the gas, and of course, drive sober. There's no vaccine that will protect us from deadly car crashes today. And yet, like a pandemic, it's a case where we can only protect our loved ones by acting together. Through systems change, streets, laws, norms, manufacturers, technology, drivers, all at the same time, we will save lives. So we're calling on all of America, every level of government, every insurance company, every motor carrier, every auto manufacturer, to embrace and commit to the specific actions for partners that we are releasing as a companion to the National Roadway Safety Strategy, knowing that if we work together and do this right, we will save so many lives. The nature of good safety work is that we won't know the names of the people whose lives will be saved by these efforts. But we will know that so many Americans who might otherwise have been an empty seat at the dinner table will instead be right where they belong. And who knows, the lives that you act to help save just might include your own. I believe we are fully capable of meeting these goals by committing to these actions, and we know that with lives on the line, there is not a moment to lose. So let's get started. Thank you, and congratulations again to everybody who delivered this extraordinary and important piece of work. And I think we have some time for media questions. Danny can quarterback. For which now? We don't have a date to share yet, but I'll refer you to NHTSA for more on that. As you see in the safety strategy, there's kind of near, medium, and long-term actions, but a lot of this is programmed in the immediate rulemaking agenda. Oh, sorry, the data, yeah, that's imminent, right? Okay. Well, look, every operation of government, including ours, does best, of course, when we have the certainty of a full budget and normal appropriations. But I can also tell you there is so much going on and so much on our plate right now that we are keeping very busy delivering on the resources that are actionable in the moment, and of course looking forward to further certainty on the road ahead. So, look, we're here to talk about roadway safety, and the big thing on my mind is how all of these pieces fit together. And part of what an administration has to do, a country has to do, is many things at once. That is, of course, a challenge for Congress, but we have seen already in the last year things done that people said weren't possible, including bipartisan agreement on a complex and major piece of policy, the infrastructure law, and have the same level of high expectation that we can get a lot of things done in this coming year, too. All right. Thanks again for joining us, and thanks for the great work, everybody who is part of this. Take care.